Well, hello and welcome to the CRM Zen Show, where we talk about all things Zoho. This is episode 358, CRM from a Certain Point of View, recorded for Friday, June 6th, 2025. From Zanata Consulting, I'm Tyler Colt.
And I'm Greg Belknap. Let's get right on into the show.
All right, let's do it. Greg, get comfortable. You're going to be joining here weekly for the next few months.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you look very comfy over there. Thanks for chiming in. So, as everybody knows, Brett is going to be out for just a couple months, out on his sabbatical out in Europe mostly, and then a couple other destinations. So, Greg will be filling in. For those who haven't seen Greg in an episode before, you can be assured he is similarly unhinged as Brett. So, you will see some of that bubble up here and there. I will try to keep us on track. But yeah, thanks for joining, Greg.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely happy to be here. And yeah, no promises on what my hinge level will be. You'll just have to tune in every week and find out what that is. I might be cool as a cucumber one week and just, cat on a hot tin roof the next.
I love that. Beautiful language there, Greg. So we do have kind of a busy news week, so let's jump on in. But before we do, a quick word from our sponsor, us.
Are you struggling to get your team trained in using Zoho effectively? Considering the hefty costs of team meetings and onboarding sessions dedicated to Zoho training, there has to be an easier way. Say hello to efficiency with our Zoho team training courses. Zoho CRM made easy. Become a project management pro, top-tier customer support, and maximize your marketing impact. Are you ready to equip your team? Start today at zanata.com/training and let us lead the way.
All right. Nice quick ad this week. Our consulting services one is pretty long. I thought I would spare everybody this week. So couple news stories here coming from the world of CRM. We're going to start with one of the inspirations for the show title. This is using chart views inside of your lists in Zoho CRM. So a bit of a confusing one. A lot of the times when you think about charts, you're kind of thinking about a, maybe some type of graph or visualization that lives inside the analytics suite. But in this case, what we're really talking about is essentially a type of view in your module where you can actually create different types of graphs, right? That are easily adjusted, saved, viewed, filtered, right? And so on. So I think the idea here is they're looking to give people kind of a more visual way of looking at things. For those watching us on YouTube, you can see here a pretty normal looking list of deals. Now, to be fair, you'll normally have more filters and custom views and sorting, so it doesn't need to look this messy. But for a lot of people, as they're getting used to a new CRM, sometimes it's useful to visualize things in a different way, kind of see them graphically color coded. What does my pipeline look like by stage? So this is kind of a goal there to give people more access. Now, you might be wondering, why would I use this versus just going to the analytics suite? My assumption here is that the permissions for this can be managed separately. So you might want to keep the permission set pretty tight in the analytics suite. Again, here talking about the CRM analytics, not Zoho analytics, but you might give people more permissions to kind of play around with these here in an environment that isn't going to deploy out to everybody. But definitely a nice one, well worth taking a look at. Any use cases for you, Greg, kind of stand out here that you could imagine seeing?
Well, I mean, I think that the nice thing here is that a chart is beneficial if you have a very large data set and you want to kind of see how does my particular deal sit in the grand scheme of all my other deals, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Right. And if you want to do it, say by amount, obviously that's a very easy one. Then you can kind of just like formulate this very quickly and easily just from the list view, which I think is the nice bit here. Because a lot of times it's like, I just need a very simple bar chart. instead of having to navigate to the analytics tab or go to the reports and make a report and then make a chart view off of the report and then add that to a dashboard. And then I'm going to put that dashboard somewhere either on my home page or I have to keep navigating the analytics tab. Now it's just all there in the list view. So I think this is very nice for those kind of just quick and easy, comparison graphs that if you just want to quickly, at a glance, see how your business is doing.
Yeah, and I would assume too you're going to have click through here. I mean, one of the ways that I kind of immediately would think about using this is to identify and highlight some outliers. So imagine you had a field inside of your deal that had like days in stage. I might want to have like a stacked bar chart that shows the deals that are in a stage color coded by how long they've been in it, right? So that you can very quickly and easily go, oh, those ones in red, I'm going to click on those and go do something about them, right? Because they've been sitting here for too long. So just another way to give a visual indicator into a potential next action inside a CRM. Pretty interested to see the creative ways that people will use those. Next up here, another new view for CRM. Do keep in mind, both of these are only supported for CRM for everyone. They're going to try to get you over there. I'm a holdout, but eventually I'm sure they'll get me. But here we have a timeline view for CRM. This is an interesting one. So if inside of a deal, let's say you had like a start date and then your estimated closing date, basically a to and a from date, you can take that and essentially have it display a line on a graph that shows you the start and end of a particular sequence for a record. Now, again, looking at these down below, like this is an interesting one. I'm curious to see how people use it. This isn't really how I would ever imagine visualizing my deals, but I could see it as a useful tool for simple things around like date management. I know something that like grinds the gears of every sales manager is a deal where the closing date is in the past and it's not closed, right? Whether closed lost or closed won. So if you look at an example here that we're seeing, right, we have this deal that's going to close allegedly by end of day today, right? So this is a nice, easy visual view to come in here and extend that closing date if it's not closed by that time, right? So I think just kind of for the management side, this could be useful for the easy view into those dates. Can you think of a use case for this one, Greg? I was kind of struggling to before the show. I don't know when I would use this.
Well, I think, first off, I mean, because a lot of people repurpose the deals module to just something totally different to what a typical salesperson might use it for. Like we've seen people use the deals module to just kind of represent actual working projects, in which case this is just a big old Gantt chart, a company-wide Gantt chart, right? I could also see this being useful for, like you said, somebody identifies that like, hey, this deal is supposed to close today, but maybe this person knows like, oh, I know this is not going to close today. So we need to kind of move this. And let's say each of these deals, that's going to represent, let's say, services that your team is going to have to provide. As you have to like adjust a deal, or if you're creating a deal for the first time, you could now kind of easily see, well, where do I have a lot of other deals stacked up? So like, oh, I shouldn't try to close this deal for this person to start in a week because I've already got 4 other deals that are supposed to. So I guess again, it depends on is the start date of one of these records like just when you started talking to them, or is it like actual work represented? But so I'm thinking of it in terms of if a record indicates I need to start work on this, then like I think about for us, Zanata, right? We have deals, scopes of work that represent it's time for us to start onboarding a client, getting those initial kickoff calls in, things like that. A timeline view could help make sure that you're not stacking yourself up too densely in one spot, and you can kind of like
that's a good call out,
spread things out as you need to.
Yeah, I guess too, like you could likely use this outside of just the deals module. So like I can think of CRMs where we set up like the deal is kind of where they sell it, but then they have these different like phases as a custom module that might have start and end dates. So then being able to go to the phase module and kind of see all of those in a view for your idea being, if you know that you can only be working on 5 of them at a time, you can go in there and see, we have 8 scheduled at the same time. We need to shift some things around. So really cool. I will just highlight, important to note, you can adjust these dates just by clicking and dragging on this view. They kind of sneak that in all the way down here at the bottom. So if you were going to kind of have a team meeting, do some of the planning, move some things around, you could just do it directly on your timeline view. So kind of a nice one. Interested to see how people will use this. Leave a comment, educate me a bit. How are you guys thinking of using this one? I'd be curious to see just the different ways that these things may pop up.
Yeah.
You like that little engagement bait there? Next one up here is going to be a quick article to highlight a long awaited feature. Rich text is now supported for notes inside of Zoho CRM. So rich text, of course, the ability to bold, italics, bullet points, URL embeds, emojis if you're copy pasting from GPT, all of that now being supported here inside of the CRM. This is going to be enabled for Australia, Japan, and Canada first, and then rolled out for other data centers. I'm assuming they've set it up so that everything should migrate over. This was probably a bigger task than it may have appeared on the back end to actually roll all the data over, but I would assume all that's going to come across. Big one. I think this is one everyone's kind of been waiting for.
Yeah, pretty huge. It'll be interesting because I know this is also coming off of they recently added to the CRM APIs for all of you coding nerds on the back end, the ability to get those rich text fields. And I know that like it has to be like significantly different because in order to get the content of rich text fields in the CRM, you can only make a call to just get those rich text fields. You can't get the rich text fields and like the other regular fields in a CRM record. Okay. Like it has to be its own separate. So I don't know. So whatever is like siphoned off there. So same thing with the notes. I will be interested as a dev head of what this might look like if we're trying to download and interact with notes on the back end. If how that rich text is going to come through, or if this affects its access via API. We'll just have to wait and see. But all in all, this is a good change, a good update.
This is nice.
Rich text with notes, especially because I just think about you might also be getting more people using the notes that otherwise they would have had to put in an attachment of something, right? So that, again, just that nice visualization of data. Because we have had stuff before where people have wanted to either migrate something, or they've wanted to set up like a sync automation of like, hey, I use, I'm using QuickBooks with the CRM. I want when somebody adds a comment to an invoice, I want that comment to be then written to the corresponding deal in the CRM. But if there's special formatting allowed in the QuickBooks comment, and then it just kind of looks like just kind of icky plain text funky in the notes field.
Yeah, agreed. Definitely a big one. Feels minor is major. We'll have to note that for our end of year recap, which will come up sooner than I expect.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you like that. Next one up here is kind of a quick one. This is from the world of Zoho Desk. So this is a rollout for chat to ticket timers. So kind of an interesting one here. What this does is essentially gives you an idea of if you're working in a chat, you can set a certain timer to say, hey, if I've not started this, go ahead and just convert it in as a ticket is kind of my understanding of this. So really just if you don't get back to them quickly enough, it's going to chase them down with a ticket so that you can still ideally get that answer applied or sent back out to them. I mean, Greg, I know you spend a lot of time in Desk. Do you think this is something that people will be excited to see?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because it's just a nice additional safety net, that when a like it says here, when a chat goes idle for too long, if that's whether that's because the person disappeared or my agent disappeared for some reason, it's going to get turned into a ticket. So like that chat won't just kind of be like sitting in the ether nowhere. Like it's going to be converted to something that like requires more not rigid follow-up action, but a more just using email or whatever, just a more standard form of communication than just through a chat window. I do also like I like they kind of break down some like best practices in this article that I think is nice. That they talk about like if you scroll down a little bit for our YouTube viewers, it says best practices for teams of all sizes. Talks about like recommending setting the timer as a basic 1 hour for busy channels like WhatsApp. You can set different timers for each departments. Train your agents to split threads before a timer expires if the issues are different. So they just kind of they give some good advice here.
Yeah,
but,
really nice one.
Good one.
I like too, just as a shout out to Zoho, kind of including some of the best practices and like how they expect this to get used in with the article. One of the things we always try to do is give some examples of like why this might apply to you, and selfishly, this makes our life a little bit easier. I do kind of like, again, just that ability to either append to an existing or create new. That's always one of the challenges in any desk tool. It's like, how do you draw that line between this is a new ticket versus this is just an existing one with a new message? And so getting a bit more granular control should be pretty darn useful. Next up here to wrap out the news, the grid is here for Zoho Forms. So this is essentially a new feature called grids for Zoho Forms. This allows you to place fields side by side in multiple columns to create more concise and organized form structures. So simply put, if you're watching us on YouTube, you got columns inside of Zoho Forms. You can create basically a little section, right? So here they're creating a section for education, and then they're dropping in a couple fields. I think just the idea here is really a UI change more than anything else for longer forms that might just get, stretching down the page. I mean, I can think about the form on the Zanata homepage that you can fill out to get in touch with us to help with your Zoho install is getting quite long because we asked for quite a bit of stuff so that we can show up prepared for the call. And I know Freddie or Wayne and the web team are always kind of battling the embed to try to get it to look nice and fit within kind of where we want it. So this could be something that I would actually imagine us using just to make that thing a little bit shorter.
Yeah, and it helps to like, if you have fields that are all kind of around a similar theme, right?
Yeah.
Like in their little video, their little repeating GIF on the article here, they're showing fields for somebody showing their education and experience, and they have like highest degree, years of experience, and third field, employment status over there, right?
There it is.
So, you got 3 fields there that are kind of about like the same thing. So it makes sense to put them all in a row there. Yeah. And anyone who's been working in Creator for a while, you're familiar with this type of customization that you can do. So I just wonder, is this what kids refer to as hitting the gritty?
I think so, yes. And that was almost a show title this week, but I didn't want to say it on the intro card, so we switched it up.
Okay.
But you still got it in there.
Yeah, no, happy to.
One last note, just to clarify, these are different than a subform or a table where the rows repeat. These are still individual fields that are just going to be filled out once. So this is not a repeating table. We already had those. This is just a way to organize fields into these different columns and sections to make things a little bit easier to fill out. Alrighty, so I think that should wrap us up here for the news. With that, let's jump right on over to our code share of the week.
All right. For this week's code share, we're heading over to Club Zanata, and getting one from good old Eddie Gonzalez, one of our great devs here. He's talking about how to trigger Zoho Flow webhooks from a Deluge script elsewhere in the Zoho ecosystem. So it's pretty simple. You just need to use an invoke URL and post your webhook URL that you get from Zoho Flow in there. This one is kind of more of a letting you know about what's capable in the Zoho sphere. Because the nice thing about using a Zoho Flow open webhook, you might be asking yourself, well, why would I set it to Zoho Flow if I'm already in Deluge? Can't I just do in Deluge whatever I could do over in Zoho Flow? And some reasons why you might want to switch over to a Zoho Flow instead of just working inside a Deluge. One possibility is that you want to that there's a connection that you have in Zoho Flow that already has a bunch of pre-baked actions that are just easier to deal with the action blocks than trying to interact with that third party's APIs, right? That would be a huge thing, right? Another option, and this is one, for anyone who's dealing with very large data sets, Deluge can't run forever as much as we'd like it to. It has a limit of 5 minutes, right? And if you're dealing with, let's say that I'm writing a scheduled function that wants to go through my list of my 8,000 account records, and for each of those account records I need to generate a list of open invoices, or I need to generate a list of tasks that need to get created in Zoho projects, and I will not be able to run all of that stuff in one 5-minute Deluge script. So sometimes we'll use Zoho Flow to turn a function into something asynchronous, meaning that things can just kind of run in parallel. So you kind of take a large job, break it down into chunks, and kind of pass each chunk to Zoho Flow one at a time. And now Zoho Flow doesn't yet, you don't have to wait for the flow to finish before the Deluge script inside of the CRM will keep running. So you can sort of just let Flow kind of take it from there and sort of queue things up so you don't have to try to run everything all at once, and kind of relieve some of the API usage pressure on your system. So I think you've probably used that once or twice before, Tyler.
Yeah, definitely. I've done that. I've also used Flow as a way to give easier control when we're building something for a client. So one of my clients, there was when a deal got closed, a bunch of different things needed to happen. One of those was sending them a text, just via, I think we're using Twilio or RingCentral. Both have connectors for Zoho Flow. And as you know, sending a text via Twilio is just a webhook. Surely could have just done it in the Flow, wouldn't have been an issue. But the client had mentioned like, hey, we might A/B test different language for this in the future. We might just decide to change it. We might update our onboarding process. And ideally, I'd rather not dig through a piece of code to find that language, right? They were pretty comfortable in Flow, not very comfortable in Deluge. And so it was like, cool, I'll just kick a webhook over with the things it needs, the phone number, the name, the fields that are getting merged in. And then we can just use a Flow action to send the text. Right. And lo and behold, they do change it regularly. They're similar to us, but they're always tweaking and tinkering on their process. And so, Flow could be a nice way to kind of democratize that, kind of get it out of just strict Deluge environment into a place that's a little more familiar. And so nowadays they actually have a folder inside of their Flow account that houses all the different automated texts that go out, because we've just moved everything over to Flow. So it's easy for them to document and make those kinds of changes. So yeah, good code share from Eddie. Pretty simple one in terms of like the structure of the code itself, but definitely serves as a bit of a PSA that yes, in fact, you can do this. And in a lot of cases, you probably should. So well worth considering. As always, this code share and all others live over on Club Zanata. That's club.zanata.com. This is basically a group of Zoho nerds helping Zoho nerds. We pick out questions out of here to answer on the show, or our team comes in and answer them. Totally free. So go ahead and sign up over on club.zenatta.com. With that, I think we're ready to jump on over to our website and check out what's new over on Zenatta. All right, new blog. I know Wayne is kind of focusing in on a few key industries that we work with a ton, kind of highlighting some of the ways that Zoho can help them run their systems. This one particularly around the real estate market. We do have a lot of clients in this space. Pipelines, lead flow, automated SMS. The client I was just referencing is a real estate client, so that works out well. But yeah, total customization and ownership. One of the big things we do see that is nice is actually the management of properties. When you're using a more traditional like pipeline only CRM for this, it can be difficult to create a properties module, right? Which you really do want, because you might have the same listing or you might have different listings over a 5-year period for the same property, right? Like if you help somebody buy a home, they're very likely to use you to help sell the home. So maybe keep a record of that home, right? Make sure that you're kind of just on top of it, checking in, seeing what's needed. So a good one, kind of highlights some of the different tools that may in fact plug in, and then a little shameless plug for a few of our case studies with clients in this space. But yeah, real estate agents, come reach out, click on book a meeting, talk to us about how we can help with your Zoho install.
Yeah, we've helped plenty of those.
Good.
Oh,
yeah,
excuse me. Excuse me.
Yeah.
I was.
Excuse you. Yeah, you're excused.
No, just saying, like,
All
we work
right.
with a lot of great real estate folks.
Yep, absolutely. All a little bit crazy, and they always want things a little bit different. Again, one of those benefits to Zoho, kind of build it your way. Don't get put into a little box. With that, let's jump over to the YouTube channel and check out our tips of the week. All righty. So first one here is a quick overview of some new AI features coming out for Zoho Sign. This is everything from summarizing a document, extracting key terms, asking Zia some questions about the document, and then a little answer bot just for like tech support help inside of Zoho Sign itself. This is a cool one, as always. Buyer beware, it's a good starting point, but please do read the document before you sign it. A summary might give you a good place to start or to spend a little bit of extra time, but I would surely not just implicitly trust everything that the bot tells you about the document. I will say, like, when you're asking a bot questions about a very specific piece of content, it's pretty rare that it's going to hallucinate. It's not never. So I would definitely not advise you to replace your review process with this, but maybe instead just augment it, right? Like I use this example, I think in this video, we get a lot of NDAs from clients. 99% of them are totally fine and essentially the same. 1 out of 100 will have some crazy paragraph in it, right? And so if a bot could quickly tell me like, hey man, I'm seeing one of those crazy ones in section 11, maybe that could speed up my review a little bit. But again, I'm going to read it anyways, because I would not just, again, trust the bot to do this for you without a human review.
Yeah, I think where Zoho needs to take this for next steps is adding like highlight links, so that like you ask the bot a question, and then in the answer, rather than just telling you a thing and saying, well, this is what it is like, hey, this is my summary of your question, and here's a link to a highlight of the in the document itself of like where I pulled that from, so you can go and like look at it yourself. I think that's what would really take this to a great level.
Yeah. Also, as well, like maybe some type of comparison to normal. And that's really tough to do because normal is a really broad definition. But for certain types of documents, like the main two I would think about is like an NDA or a BAA, which is a business associate agreement for companies dealing with HIPAA data. Those are pretty much always the same, right? So if it had some way of going like, hey, most of this document looks exactly like a normal NDA, except for this $50 million liquidated damages clause right here, right? Where that might kind of key you in a little bit more quickly. But
Yeah.
again, I know the definition of normal ranges kind of widely when it comes to contracts. So they might not really want to get into that, right, in terms of giving bad advice. But a cool one to use, but definitely keep in mind that you should still read documents before you sign them. Next one up is a long-awaited one around CPQ and guided selling for Zoho CRM. Kind of break this down into the three main components. So we have the product configurator. This is basically where you're saying, hey, for this item or set of items, matching these criteria or related criteria, like something about the account, either require or suggest a product. While you're at it, set up some criteria with price rules to then give discounts on those particular products that fit the criteria. And then lastly, using guided selling to actually build a sequence of questions that lead them to a particular product choice. So I kind of did this one in two parts. I go in and I set up a particular feature, then we jump in and make a quote and use it. Each time that we make a new quote, each of these rules kind of stack on top of each other until we get to that final point where we go through a guided selling process, pick that item, which then kicks off the required included items and the discount that should apply based on that choice. So one that not everybody needs CPQ, but Zoho's put a lot of work into this. It's a lot better than it used to be, and I thought it would be good just to circle around and get this out there for those who might find it useful.
Yeah, it's a nice tool. I like it that it helps. Like I'm thinking of myself if I were a salesperson, it helps offload a lot of the mental capacity that I would have to have for remembering. Like, okay, if I'm selling this thing, I should ask them if they need X, Y, and Z. And so rather than just forcing your salespeople to memorize product interactions, just have the CRM pop them up for them, and you go like, oh, right, yeah, you're getting a widget, so I need to ask if you want a thingamabob and a doodle hopper as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that a lot of the times we don't find these useful if you're working on a product list that has like 100 SKUs. Some clients have 5,000 SKUs, 10,000 SKUs, right? So like even something like guided selling, like looking at manufacturers, product categories, and budgets, even if you can trim down a list of 1,000 products into like, here's the 30 or so that fit what they're looking for, surely is going to make life quite a lot easier.
Yep. And then obviously one last, kind of PSA caveat, just this is CPQ, configure price quote, not to be confused with CPK, California Pizza Kitchen. Though these are two separate things. These are two separate things. Do not get them confused. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for clarifying that. I was starting to get confused. So now I'm feeling a little bit more on top of it and ready to go. I do love their the barbecue chicken pizza, CPQ. That is an all-time great. Red onions on there. You gotta love it. Alrighty, I think with that, we have wrapped up the show here for today. Thank you so much for joining, Greg. Leave a comment down below if you like Greg. Leave a comment down below if you don't like Greg. I'm curious to see where the votes land on that one. I like him, so I'll go leave a comment saying that I do.
And I thrive on external validation, so I would love that. You can make or break me, whichever you want to do.
A little bit of both. With that, I think we're ready to wrap up here for today. As always, just head on over to Zanata.com and click on book a meeting if you'd like to talk about how we can help with your Zoho install. While you're there, always remember that all episodes as well as show notes are linked over on the website. If you want that news delivered straight to your inbox every single Monday morning, be sure to subscribe to our newsletter.
And to get access to the code share that we talked about today, as well as learning about upcoming Zanata events and news, head to club.zanata.com and join our community today. And if you want to get your team trained up, head over to zanata.com/training to get access to any of our great training courses. I was about to say award-winning, but I don't know if we actually got an award for them yet. We should. We should make an award and then give it to ourselves.
I think so.
Yeah, try out the team training. Get your team trained up in less than 7 days.
And last but not least, we always appreciate when you like and subscribe here on YouTube, as well as your choice of podcast app. We will see you next Friday.
The CRM Zen Show was produced by Podcaster Zen.
Surely there must be an award.
We should give ourselves more awards.
Yeah.
Well,
Somebody
CRM
has to
then
be-
can give Zanata an award, right? Because then it's totally
Oh, yeah.
independent. Independent
Yeah.
journalism.
That's right.